Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be telling you my experience of being an au pair in China. I thought this video would be useful because I did not find a lot of information when I was searching to do an au pair. This is my first au pair that I have done before, and I have got to say that it was a great experience for me. I did my au pair in China, in Hangzhou to be precise with it. I've got a bunch of questions here I'm going to be answering that are very common questions that I had personally and questions that I thought other people might have. The first question is, do you recommend going with an agency? I personally went with an agency. I went with Global Youth Au Pair China. I've got to say they were phenomenal agency. I absolutely think and recommend you go with an agency, especially if it's your first time. It was my first time doing an au pair, my first time in China, so I thought that they were very useful for me. Especially China is they have very different systems to the UK. So things that I needed to get used to, for example, a lot of their apps are different. You can't simply pay with Apple Pay. They don't have Apple Pay there. I did get leaflets from them explaining these different apps. So for example, they use Alipay there. Obviously, it's very simple once you get the hang of it. It is a very simple app, but obviously it's very overwhelming going into a different country, meeting different people, so it was very nice to have that there. Also, help is done with the visa application. They pretty much did everything. I just needed to turn up and collect it. That was great. Then another question is, do you have to pay for this agency? So Global Youth Au Pair, I did not have to pay for at all. It's the family that pays for it, which is one of the great things about this agency in China. A lot of other places you have to pay a little bit, which I think you should not do. Say if you're a little bit more independent, then I say maybe you can apply separately. If you know the country well, that's different. But I'd say if it's your first time, I would recommend going with an agency, in my opinion. Next question is, how much did it cost for me? So I only stayed in Hangzhou, China for 1 month, which meant that I had to pay for return flights. So that was the main expense I had of coming to China. If you do 3 months or more, then you don't have to pay for your flights, but because I only did a month, I had to pay for my flights the very short time I was there for. Honestly, I was happy to do that. What else? I also had to pay for my visa. That was also a little bit as well, but the visa and the flights, and then a DBS check. I think they call it a police check there. Those were the 3 costs that I had to pay for. Apart from that, nothing else I had to pay for. Everything else is paid for. Accommodation, food, that was all paid for by the au pair agency, which the family pay the au pair agency. So in terms of cost, that's what it cost for me. If you were doing 3 months or more, then you would only have to pay for the visa and the DBS check, nothing else. So I'd say it's pretty good value for money. Then the next question is, do you get pocket money when you're there? So yes, I do get pocket money. For me, it depends on family to family. My family gave me about 2,000 RMB for the month. That's about £200, I think, which is pretty reasonable because accommodation was paid for, obviously, by them. Food, I went out pretty much every day to restaurants with them. I did not have to pay for that whatsoever, so I'd say that was pretty good for me. If you're looking for a salary, then an au pair is not really a job, it's more of a cultural experience there. So what does an au pair do is the next question. So as an au pair, I would just teach my child English. So in China, it's a little bit different. They do not have to cook or clean because they have maids and people that cook and take care of the child. So all I would have to do is I would just have to speak English to the child. So that includes activities depending on how old the child is. Honestly, very different experience with very different families. For me, my child was 3.5 years old, so I would just have to do engaging English activities with the child. So I'd say a little bit playtime, a little bit of just speaking English, him speaking back, repetition, So I'd say that's what I would have to do, and I have to do a set hours of 5 hours every day. The hours, it could be morning. I could just do it all in the morning, or I could do 2 chunks, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. But I have to do 5 hours every day of teaching English. From family to family, it can be very different. Some expect you to stay there for lunch and dinner, and whilst I was expected to stay there for lunch and dinner, that was included in my 5 hours. So it honestly depends on the family as to whether that would be included or not. The next question is, do you have to have any qualifications to do this? So there will be some agencies out there that will require you to have TFL, I don't know what that's called, but one of those qualifications to teach English. But no, you do not have to have any qualifications as long as you are a native English speaker. You speak English, and some require you to have maybe a little bit of child experience. So for me, I did have a little bit of volunteering that I did at school when I was younger, but they do not require that sometimes. It just depends on the family. You just have to be good with children and speak English, and that's it. That's all you have to know. Do I need to know the language of the country I'm going to? So to answer that question, no. I did not know any Mandarin when I went there at all. I did try and learn a little bit on Duolingo, and I did learn very little Mandarin when I was in primary school, but I am not good at Mandarin whatsoever. So you do not need to know the language. The family, how I communicated with the family was through a Google Translate. So I just communicate with that through the app. And the child, I would say, I was obviously communicating in English, but I'd say the family were very willing to learn. I was willing to learn, so we made it work. But no, you do not need to know any Mandarin or any of the language, but it would be very helpful if you could try and learn a little bit just to, I don't know, I think it would be good. Some people also opt in for lessons as well at the country. I didn't because I was only there for a month, but they do provide it if you're doing 3 months or longer with the agency I'm at. So the next question is, did you have any free time to explore? For me, I had 1 day off a week, but I actually decided to clump all of my days off and go to Shanghai for 1 week. I really do not regret that decision whatsoever. I absolutely enjoyed Shanghai. It's 1 hour away from Hangzhou, so the family was actually willing to take me there in a car, which was very nice of them because the dad was actually going to the airport that day. So I got to experience Shanghai for 1 week and I absolutely loved it. But you do get 1 day off a week as well to do whatever you want. You don't have to do anything with a child. But I honestly enjoyed every activity I did with the family. It wasn't really a chore for me, like going out and eating at restaurants. For example, I went swimming with them. I did loads of different activities, but I did not see that as working. Some people do, but it depends. It was classed as working, but I really had a lot of fun, so I could not complain. But anyway, that's the end of the video. If you wish to see more travel content or have more questions about anything, any of my au pair experience, any video ideas you want, then comment down below. But please like, subscribe and turn on those post notifications for more videos. But I'll see you. Bye.